Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the CCL 2021. My name is Morgan Dunn, and I am joined by the amazing Proper cast as we take you all into the second matchup of the day. Proper, how are you doing, my man?
Doing fantastic as always, my friend. And I'm always looking forward to some more collegiate action. We got more top cut action, just like what I was breaking down yesterday from the matches that started off this week, Morgan. We are headed into a very fantastic series to be able to see who is going to be getting a step ahead in this top cut for this coastal region.
Yeah, we're going into the matchup between UTK White and the E4 Knights out of Central Florida. Right now, this is going to be both teams' first split 2 action against one another. Really trying to prove that you are at the top of your conference. And even more of what's on the line, Tennessee Knoxville right now, they're 8-1. They're even on the record, but they're not ranked. While the E4 Knights are up there at number 11, this is a big chance to make yourself known and get up into that top 25.
Yeah, so I mean, this UTK White roster, they finished in a pretty good spot. Keep in mind, they finished in the tied for first in the B division for this region, tied with number 10 of Bama Crimson. They ended up beating them in a map 5 set, and their only loss came by way of MSU White in 4 maps. So very interesting to see. I have not seen the likes of Specs, Joe, Swizzy, and King play before. So I'm interested to see what this team truly does look like. I'm very familiar with the other UTK roster. It's playing in another region, but it's still to go up against this roster like you were talking about, E4 Knights, University of Central Florida. They are currently ranked 11, but you got to think that judging how the rankings even work in general, that this UTK White roster could actually be a generalized sleeper that a lot of teams could be sleeping on within this very stacked region. I mean, once you're inside this top cut, you were able to win yourself a sufficient amount of matches, but now you find yourself here with the likes of Georgia Southern, Eagles Cod Gold, they're ranked number 5, FSU Garnett, they're ranked number 13, Full Sail Armada's here, Raging Cajuns, University of Louisiana Lafayette, they're all in this region. It's shark-infested waters, and the time is now to be able to set yourself apart from these other teams, such as E4 Knights.
Yeah, and you're definitely seeing that across a few different conferences where there's kind of this idea of one division has the better teams and the other one, their top guy might have got through on some lower competition. So as we hit split 2 and you're matching all of those top teams together, it is really the chance to make yourself known and see who is the actual top dog. When we take a look at these maps, though, we're going to be kicking things off on Raid for the Hardpoint. Map number 2, Moscow SND. Map 3, Checkmate Control, and if required, Checkmate Map 4, Raid again for the Map 5. Here on Hardpoint Map 1, what are you hoping to see out of these teams?
Well, I mean, Raid Hardpoint is such a punishing map, but it's also very swing dependent because you can turn any hill into essentially a money hill. It is very swing dependent like that. You can get caught off guard when you are too heavy, is focused towards a break towards 3, not focused for the rotation towards 4. You are quite literally rotating throughout the entirety of the map. So I'm looking at the submachine guns. What kind of pressure can they bring towards the middle of the map? What kind of breaks are they going to be able to have when we do come down to those crucial moments when you are fighting for those close spawns, when it comes down to 3, 4, 2, it doesn't really matter, and when you're holding on towards 5. All the way up to the CDL, Morgan, we have seen teams both choke and have comebacks to map wins on P5 for Raid. And if there's anything that I'm looking forward to, it's how this UTK White roster is going to be able to hold up versus E4 Knights. They have both played Raid a handful of times, 2-2 overall for UTK White. On the other side of things, for University of Central Florida, E4 Knights are currently 2-0, so undefeated. They currently hold a better overall 9-3 for Hardpoint compared to the 10-5 for UTK White, but even still, with these stat lines that they're holding going in towards the series, I'm not ready to sell anything short as far as stats or ranked numbers.
Yeah, and on a map that has so many big rotations as Raid does from P2 to P3, from P3 to P4, it's going to be really interesting to see how the routemen of these two teams play. And also, the guys sitting down on the hills, racking up that time. Both of these squads really do have dedicated hill-grabbing players for the side of UTK White. It's going to be Demon averaging 112 seconds of hill time. And then for the E4 Knights, it's their captain, RJ Santee, at just under 100 himself. So there's definitely going to be plenty of big moments where these players are popping off, getting plenty of kills. But when you step back, when you look at the macro, I'm going to have my eyes on these two players to see if they can keep up to their normal stats thus far. If they can rack up all that hill time to get their team a good lead and then let the comfortable nature of that lead into good gunplay for the rest of the squad.
Yeah, when we talk about the Euro BJ players in Call of Duty, if you're new to the competitive scene, is your first time watching, you're just unfamiliar in general, and you just like to learn. The OBJ player is that player that does sit on the hill, that doesn't push out, that doesn't try to enforce spawns. They're not your route man. That's your dedicated hill time player that can try to trade their life for 1 to all the way 3, try to soak up as much hill time as possible, and then join the ranks for the other team. When it comes down to search and destroy, that's your bomb carrier. You're expecting them to be able to go in there, plant the bomb. It doesn't really matter when it comes down to control. Everybody's just trying to be able to find those kills over towards the OBJ as within its own self too, and then you'd be able to find more rogue members. We'll talk about that as it ends up coming through, but lobby's just about all ready to go for us here in between these two very interesting teams. Yeah, I got the pleasure of seeing these E4 Knights play once before, Morgan, and I got to say the presence that they do bring to the map, specifically Jumper and what they bring to the map, is part of the reason why the respawn is just so pristine. And they also are 7-2 in control, and it's by way of Jumper. I mean, if you just look at their stats, if you go to College COD's website, these E4 Knights throughout the entirety of the A Division run, their only loss was to the one team that beat them in the overall, and that was Eagles COD Gold. Throughout the entirety of it, this player of Jumper was able to not only dictate the pace, he was able to transcend it past a lot of other teams that they were facing. They sit at a 2.21 overall KD on hardpoint, 2.46 overall KD on that control. And I think when you're thinking about a map like Raid, and when the tensions are high, when you're coming into split number 2, you're looking towards a player like Jumper. No, they're not the captain, but it's that player to go absolutely AWOL, to be able to turn hills, to be able to break, to be able to go 1 for 3. Hell, they might find their own personal name in a quad feed for all I care. But this is the player that you're looking out for. And on the other side for UTK, who will be that player? Because there's really no big standout as far as KDs comparatively to a 2.21.
Proper, you couldn't have said it any better. You took the words right out of my mouth. I was about to say UTK, they need to find someone like that, like the Jumper for the E4 Knights. Someone is going to have to step up and take that man on in the 1v1. And right now we have no idea who it'll end up coming to. As we wait for this first map to jump in, I got one big question for you, Proper. Who would you put your money on right now? Where do you think this one is going to end up in the end?
Well, I'm very Jewish, so I'm not putting my money anywhere here, Morgan. Okay, so I'm just going to sit here and I'm just going to respect what these teams have to offer. Again, I am a traditional color caster. I am an analyst. I pride myself after watching hours and hours upon of Call of Duty all the way to the pro level to be able to look at these stats that we have in front of our eyes. But I'm not a firm believer in what E4 Knights have, even watching them before, because I don't have any film on UTK White. Maybe they played on stream once before, but all I have are these stats in front of me, Morgan. And I can't let the numbers speak until I end up seeing what this team looks like for rotations on hardpoint, because they are sitting at a 66 win percentage overall for that map mode combo. But when it comes down to the search and destroy, if they can start rallying things together and they can really win out as far as objective is concerned, hell, all the way up to the pro level, we saw what the Los Angeles Girls were able to do versus Atlanta FaZe. The slaying doesn't necessarily matter. So as long as you have all these beautiful stat lines, it doesn't matter when it comes down to those macro moves. And that's what I think that you can't sleep on when it comes down to this matchup. But what do these teams look like when they are faring up against each other? Because when you are in this top cut, when you are in split 2, and playoffs are looming in the distance for you all, that's what you're mostly looking forward to. Can you slay out? Awesome. That's great. But how's the macro look? How's the small talk for your team? What do these rotation looks like? How good are your setups versus these tough teams? And that's what these two have in front of them.
Yeah, there are plenty of times you've come in and you have seen teams just completely start getting beat up on the KDs and these hard points. But then all of a sudden, you're thinking in the back of your mind, this is a stomping. But then you look at the score, it's only a couple points across. It gets down into those clutch moments. One big break is all it takes. And so you're completely right there. The rotations mean so much. Even though they are called a respawn mode, you can still make it through okay as we are getting ready to load into this map. I know you want to wait for the stats to come through before you make your call, but if I'm going to do it, if I'm going to just go by my gut to be on the opposite side, there's just something about UTK White that I am liking right now, just from how they've played. The fact that all 4 members have played in every single map thus far, whereas the E4 Knights are really split up across their kind of 5 main guys. I'm giving it over to Tennessee as we are ready to load up here into map number 1.
Yeah, he's certainly an underdog, to say the least. If you are looking at the tail of the tape, the head-to-head, and everything else that stands in between, the B division coming in towards the coastal region is definitely the weaker of the two, given it off just power rankings in general. But here we go. Raid hardpoint starting off on the favorite side will be those E4 Knights, but winning the initial gunfight is actually UTK White, and we're looking for mid-pressure. Well, not so much, actually. They're just looking to stack the P1 site and kind of just play from here on out. They have got the favorite spawns, Morgan, and they don't really need to push up further.
Yeah, it's already a clean white +1 as all of UTK still rocking goose eggs for themselves until King gets himself onto the board. Full control of Min. You have the one man wrapping around on the backside. King gets cleaned up, but is that enough to open things up for his teammates as they bust their way on back through? How important is this control of P2 early on in Raid?
Well, it's more of the middle map that you're looking for, so that's why I'm still very worried when it comes down to the E4 Knights. Like, you saw they won that opening break, but nobody was really looking towards the middle of the map. They lost one player back kitchen, and now you have UTK White. They're starting to threaten the position towards the middle of the map. The spawn outs start to happen here, Morgan, and now UTK White, they will be spawning in. E4 Knights, they put a little bit too many dollars in towards the stocks of just holding on to the P2 spawns and sacking the P1 hill. Now they're going to have to break through the front. It's minorly successful, but it's not as good as you would like to be for E4 Knights. Not yet.
Yeah, I mean, but they are still going to be able to have the lead and much up on the KDs early on. As you see, it is feast or famine for UTK White. Two players still on those goose eggs as Specs tries to hold their own. Three-man push through the center. They're starting to get melted down 2 for 1 early as King answers with his own double kill to try and keep things going, but it's just not enough. The E4 Knights hold on to the initial push, and they just got to worry about the one-man sneaking through window.
So now you're going to be able to space out if you're E4 Knights. We're down to scrap time. Big 3 kills do come through for UTK White, but you're fighting for scrap time. Luckily enough, you didn't control the hill in time, so E4 Knights are actually still spawning in. So the rotation will be here for UTK White. They can get red control. They can get inside garage. They will be here for the favorite spawn, but that was a big hill for E4 Knights to be able to soak up what felt about 40 to 45 seconds off of P2. And they're threatening through the little zigzag staircase, but King lying wake inside of red will be able to at least find a trade, but that's information for UTK White, who will be here for initial time on 3.
Yeah, here they come. 3-man through the bottom side of the map to try and get this initial push, but actually no one's there. UTK White have already left the site, and Jumper Costa sneak on by, take it on back, and that is a troublesome thing to see from the side of Tennessee. It thought that they would have the advantage, but they are easily pushed off as RJ Santee tries to line up a couple. They are melted through, and E4 Knights manage to retain control of P3.
It's such an easy break for E4 Knights. They found a handful of kills. A pressure point came through from driveway, and then you also had players pushing out the AC unit. And once they were in control of the garage at UTK White, they were scrambling, trying to work their way back in. It's unsuccessful. So now we're looking at 20 seconds, and off of that early break at UTK White, they were hoping to get more than just about 4 seconds off of P3, Morgan. And now they're going to hope for a strong hold over by P4. But look at the setup for E4 Knights. They found kills through the middle of the map. They're continuing to pressure this one out. But luckily enough, Costa is able to keep their life. Dave comes in, finds Stu. That's great help. But you got players for UTK White that are spawning over by the basketball courts. They're holding the initial time here, but Costa actually spawns in. So players will be here in time for the side of E4 Knights. Can they break in early? Not so much. Not yet.
Big shot there by Specs to give his teammates a little bit more time, but held off right now from the side of Jumper. He's finally going to fall, and it seems like it is time to come down big. First score streak of the game gets 1. Costa going to turn it into 2, and that opens up the site. Easy break again. Those initial big kill streaks that the E4 Knights were putting down now come to a head. They get on. They're looking to double up the score, and I know we said KD isn't all or nothing here on Hardpoint, but 2-11, 3-13, that is just not enough.
Well, it's just better hardpoint overall that E4 Knights are playing through. You're unsuccessful at breaking into P4 initially. It's a very open hardpoint. So yeah, Costa earns those streaks. They use it to break inside the hill. But even prior to that, think about the setups that have been broken up time and time again by UTK, even without the usage of score streaks. In the E4 Knights, not only that, they're looking ahead. They're playing for the rotations. They're playing for the more favorable spawns. They're just outpacing UTK White. They're still down by a marginal 40 seconds. They'll be here for the initial time again, but they just cannot get broken up this early. E4 Knights are already past the 100-point mark. UTK White, they could potentially get there too, but here's the other artillery strike. It comes on through. E4 Knights, they might be able to get in unless King has something else to say.
All of a sudden, Joe's going to try and make a play around the backside, and Jumper's just not ready for it. That's an easy first one, but how long does it stay alive? RJ Santee going to be the next man trying to push through for the E4 Knights, but it's a 3-man wipe there for UTK, and they have a moment to breathe. So the initial stand finally comes through. They are not immediately forced off, but still about a 30-second difference. They can get back into the game right now, but E4 just positioning, refocusing where their pressure is on the map, getting set up for P1. It is not over for either team, but there's definitely still an advantage, I think.
That was nice, a big resurgence, though, from UTK White towards the end of that set of hills. So they were able to fight their way back inside of P5, even though E4 Knights, they had invested the artillery strike. King went on a 6 spree. I'm not too sure if they were able to get enough with hardpoint score, plus finding those kills. Maybe assists came through as well, that they might have an artillery strike. We'll have to see at a later date, but no, they don't, in fact. So that won't be a resource that they have to use in the second set of rotations. But UTK White, Nice little resurgence, at least from two of the players. You already talked about Swizzy and Joe. Not exactly the best stat line, but you're only 20 points out for UTK White. You're starting to zone away. You're getting good time off the P1. Yes, E4 Knights are holding the close spawns, but you're still threatening the lead at every single given second.
Yeah, and it was off of that really good P5 that gave them this opportunity to stay in the game, only down by 10 points as we start moving through the final 20 seconds here on P1. Good positioning right now by the side of E4. They have not completely given up the middle as they did last time through, but I still love the way UTK are set up. The four-man stack around the ring, trying to get back into this game. They have retaken the lead now and extending it. E4 Knights, where did all that momentum go? Slipping behind, and they have to get a good couple points strung together now through the middle of the map.
And now they just trap E4 Knights. They're all inside a kitchen, but they're not afraid to battle out here. Big 2 kills do come through. Jumper finds a nice 2-piece. Make that 3 with the Krig 6. It comes all the way through. 17 and 11 for them now. 3 spree. They kind of try to keep their life potential to play for streaks. A lot of information is red coming through the pillars. You do not want that player getting comfortable inside open staircase, but UTK White, they actually pay no respect to it at all. They just try to break in through the front door regardless. They do find the kill on the jumper, but so unsuccessful as far as the break is concerned. We're still fighting for 30 seconds, Morgan. In E4 Knights, they're looking pristine as far as holding it. Swizzy doing a good job of just finessing their life to keep it contested for a certain amount of time. The UTK White, they should be looking at the rotation towards new.
Yeah, Costa came through with a real good flank there upstairs, and that really shut down anything that UTK had left standing. Last time they were here in Garage, they were instantly forced off. It wasn't even a fight here for E4 Knights to take it back. Let's see if the dogs over there at Tennessee can do it a little bit better this time. So is he going to go down in the 1v1 versus RJ Santee, but his teammate immediately there to trade it on back, and the respawns come through. So the initial hold looks good. Only about a 30-point difference between the two squads. As the respawn on the bottom side, Costa, he's in here trying to find the kill. Dave is in as well, and the break comes through. UTK just cannot hold on to Garage.
They can't, but at least you were able to hold on a little bit more than 5 seconds. The only problem with this time around in the second set, E4 Knights are now past the 200-point margin. They can't close it out here, but UTK White, they know that they have to try to get in here to contest it for a certain amount of time, but look at the stronghold that you have going on inside of Garage. Players looking in every single corner. You're not getting in here easily. Big 2 kills do come through. That's the opening from AC, and then the pinch from the main doors do come out. King, 25 and 20, is going to try to deal with this last player. It's going to be Costa. Has some reinforcements. That's a little job from Costa just to keep their life for a little while longer. It's just 12 seconds that UTK White will have. But then you also have to worry about Specs. They're threatening for the rotation already. Got one player coming up from behind, but at least the spacing is available for UTK White to quickly rush through the middle of the map, but you got to find the kills.
Yeah, UTK goes down, and now it just has to be a bum rush through pool to try and get across. Only about 25 seconds remaining for the E4 Knights to finish it off. Up the stairs they go, but 1 falls, 2 falls. Jumper lining him up, and he knows Specs will be the third. Finished off, not going to be able to find that last kill, but the time is still ticking away. The work has been done, and this is possibly going to be the last chance for UTK to make it happen. Around the corner they come. Specs going to throw a punch in front of Costa, following it up with the double onto RJ Santee, and they still hang on by a thread. Only 12 seconds remaining for the E4 Knights to shut it down. Dave looking to try and find an opening, but I think at least for the last few seconds, UTK can breathe. They cannot give up too much, though. A single kill will give this one away, and you have to start thinking about the rotation back over to P5.
Specs is still 5 HP. They're threatening through the small room, but nice little shot punch comes out. And you're able to deal with it. Costa hits it from Spiral, finds the break. So now they're going to put themselves at 245. Nice little 3-piece comes through. Costa's at 40 and 15, by the way. No streaks to speak of. But now we got to go towards the middle of the map. And this is where UTK White, they look their best. Plus 50 seconds left to play. E4 Knights, they're threatening it from a pinch. But inside the hill, UTK White, they're starting to beam. Jumper from Kitchen's able to find 2, and Costa comes from Zig. So now the break is here. We're still fighting for 3 seconds for E4 Knights to close out the game.
Specs gonna try and slide in, but just shut down. UTK fight their best. They try to hold on, but it is not enough. E4 Knights win it 250 to 194. And as you said, Costa just sneakily creeping up to a 40 bomb and MVP for his squad here of the first match.
And again, when you're looking at players like Costa and Jumpa early on, it was that pressure that ended up coming through from E4 Knights. The UTK White, they just couldn't end up dealing with. 2 of the players for UTK White, they started off triple quad negative, where you had the likes of Specs and you also had King just trying to do everything they possibly could to meet the pace. Yes, they were threading through rotations. They had superior placing of the map when you're thinking about placings for the initial setup inside P3 through the first set. they got broken up even through the second as well. Through the mid-map adaptations just never came through for UTK White until we were looking at certain hills to where they really had to fight all the way through. And in those final moments, E4 Knights, they just had the leader's advantage, where they only had to fight for just about 5 seconds off of a handful of hills. And again, it's all off of that pressure very early on. Costa and Jumper just did a little bit too much as far as an SMG lineup is concerned for UTK White to find an answer.
Yeah, and I mean, pregame, we were talking about Jumpers, the guy you got to worry about. You have to find a way to answer him. He had a great map, don't get me wrong, but Costa, from out of nowhere, it was 40 and 15 the last time you called out his KD, picked up a few more by the end. When you have two guys slaying at that level for the E4 Knights, and it's still that issue with UTK, we mentioned that they don't have one of those big slayers of their own. I think that's a big reason they were struggling on P3, why they couldn't get in Garage, because once you lose it, your only real opportunity to get back in is to have someone pop off, and that was just not happening.
Yeah, I mean, you can hold all the angles in the world, Morgan, but if you're not keeping the gunny warm, if you're not finding the kills, yeah, you're probably going to get broken up, especially by sub pressure, and that's all that E4 Knights had. And even when they were setting inside the hill, I mean, you saw what they were able to do, especially with Jumper. They were using the towards the end, picking up a 74U along the way when they did find those early streaks. But even still, when they were getting set up inside those hills, they were just a formidable opponent, very tough to break in. Even when all of UTK White had them trapped inside P2 through the second set of hills, finding about 30-40 seconds off of P1, still the gunfights, the angles were too much in favor for E4 Knights, and UTK White, they couldn't find as much break potential. So now we move over to the Moscow Search and Destroy, and this one's going to be an interesting one. Again, as far as the head-to-head is concerned, E4 Knights, they lead as far as the map win-loss record is concerned. 9-2 overall for the game mode, comparatively to the 10-3 for UTK White. So they have a little bit more reps, yes, but that one loss that came through from a handful of other opponents within their division might come back to haunt them.
Going into this Moscow SND, I also wanted to ask you, do you think the recent GA of the XM4 is really going to change the way that players try and come at this map here? Or do you think it's still going to be the same strategy, just sub in either the 74U or the Krig 6, try and go where you want, either deep or far?
It's going to be interesting to be able to see. I mean, it all depends on what site you're trying to hit. If you want to be flexible, then you'll probably still go 2-2. And you'll probably just have your subs probably just getting a little bit more antsy, whether you're breaking through escalators, through Metro, inside the cutout wall. I've seen some teams where you're trying to immediately break inside the A site. Triple SMG still worked even when the XM4 was still around. A lot of players still felt comfortable with that, but you're probably going to be looking a little bit more sub-oriented when it comes down to the A site. If we're playing a little bit more flexible, the second AR could end up coming through even when you are dedicating towards that B site. And all the way up to the pro level, a lot more teams are getting comfortable with finessing through Metro, with working through Globe, going in through the apartment window of Laundry and getting that bomb plant very early on. It's very tough because, again, even within this current G8, there's no smokes, there's no snipers in play. The Krig 6 is your AR of choice here now that the XM4 is completely GA'd, but you can't get that insta-pick. You can play for the information on the boulevard, but if you lose your life as a solo defender here in 4v4, that bomb site is very tough to retake.
Yeah, and every day I'm waiting for the snipers to come back because I love the hype of just the one shot, one kill. But when you don't got those smokes, you really have to think about every single angle that you can get seen from. You only have the stuns and flashes to help yourself get onto these sites, which means it's quick hits. It is coming in. It is as fast as you can. You throw out those tacticals and try to find whatever slight advantage you can. Do you still think it is more of a top of escalator focus, or do you think these teams are really going to start rotating around towards B more, try to make that jump through the window and maybe shake things up, throw the change up a little bit more?
Well, it's been interesting as the game further developed too. I mean, it's the same thing with almost every single COD since its inception, way back in the day. But you start running at opponents, this starts working. But then you start realizing I have a minute 30 left to play in the round when it starts. We can start slowing things up. Let's start playing for the information. Let's see if we can get some of those unforced errors. And that's when you can really start feeding off of your opponent, if you will, that they do have that player that gets a little bit overextension towards the middle of the map through the Metro. Then you can have an AR player defensively that's watching through a gold alleyway or through the cutout wall, or through the gold alleyway if you are on offense, just to be able to find that opening pick. That can then throw the defense in an absolute fluster and cause an early rotation, and that could then in turn, like a chess match, cause you to rotate through the opposite side of the map. And it becomes a little bit more of a mental and macro game. Now, Here in the CCL, throughout the entirety that I've been casting it all the way back to Black Ops 4, it's been interesting to be able to see how a lot of these collegiate athletes do spend their time, whether or not they're a pub stomper or there will be an search and destroy specialist, all the way up to the very top levels, Ottawa members and even Concord Maroon. You know that they do love their search and destroy on top of their league play, but even still, for these two teams, this is what could end up setting you apart. I talked about it for UTK coming in towards the series, that if you're probably going to be looking at a better map mode combo to be able to take away from the E4 Knights, it's going to come through in search and destroy. It just comes down to these executions. We saw it on the hard point when it came down to their definitive nature to be able to rotate, but hopefully it is going to come through on this Moscow search and destroy to give them a little bit of an edge.
Yeah, and as we come in here, I gotta say, I think my pressure is on for UTK right now. King, he is by far and away their best player on SND based on his KD. He's rocking the clean even too, and let's see how it goes through. As already we have E4 coming in from the attacking side and applying pressure at the top of Escalator. No kills quite yet, but Kasi gonna be the first one to come around the corner. Almost eats that Semtex, but gets away with his life as just a little positioning back and forth as E4 look to try and get that first pick you were talking about.
That's going to open up things wonderfully, you would think. But as far as the defense is concerned, they're not necessarily playing for an immediate retake. They're just waiting to see if UTK or if E4 Knights push up any more. Bacasa is going to threaten through pillars. We'll try to make things a little bit more even. But UTK White, they're playing this so smart. They're not extending until this bomb goes down.
Yeah, just look at the two players still back in spawns, and you have King watching the middle of the map. It is going to be the two surviving members of E4 Knights grouping up on themselves, providing a bit of cover as Fex turns the corner. There's the first one. Swizzy tries to be the next man through, and he gets the trade back. Big punch there by Jumper, and the pre-fire to turn it. E4 Knights managed to get out with a round 1 win.
And that's just something you just can't allow happen. I mean, you have the numbers advantage. It was a 3v2, even a 2v4 for Costa even made it marginally close. Make it a 3v2, but I like the idea of UTK White not extending through green, and you just, those isolated gunfights, just always try to play for the trades, and most importantly, just, for goodness sakes, find those trades.
I agree with you. I think UTK White looked great. If you're taking just a screenshot of the map at any point in there, they seem to have the good positioning. They seem to be ready to close out that round. But sometimes you cannot prepare for individual outplays like Jumper just put down for himself. You have to be able to find your shots, but you got to also give credit to when someone just does something outstanding. To kick this one off, though, UTK White actually going to go towards the bottom side of the map, take their time here again, and it seems like they are definitely going with that slower play style, just trying to find a slip up from the E4 Knights, and that's their initial information as King gets tagged up.
Gonna throw a couple tacticals to try to answer information for information, but player number 4 is Dave. They were playing around Globe the entire time. They will find 2. And that just means the immediate collapse. Bomb dropped inside of apartment's window. Joe's got a Crick 6. Tough spot to be in a 1v4 here, bud. But you know, even with the information that, yes, the bomb was in fact dropped over by the apartment's window, okay, Joe will find Costa getting closer, but clock becoming the immediate consideration.
Yeah, 25 seconds remaining, taking the 1v4 to only 3 enemies left on the map, and this is just starting to be a difficult proposition for anybody. He has Dave waiting for him through the center, and I like this from the E4 Knights. Don't go chasing, although there's the second kill down, there's just not going to be enough time left through, and as he tries to jump through window, easily shut down. 2 straight rounds now for E4, but that second one a lot more convincing.
But you just can't allow Dave to get in this position. You gotta have a player looking at the boulevard while you're working your way over towards that apartment site. Even Dave having a little bit spice there towards the end. Yeah, there's no reason for that flank has to come through, but very tough to be. UTK White, they had the hard read of moving their way towards B. It was necessarily undefended until Dave made that play. Nobody watching it. They popped in. They lost their lives. Now they're staring down the barrel of a 2-0 lead for E4 Knights, who send 3 players towards the A site. Gonna end up having Costa. They got a 74U watching this gold alleyway, and it's not gonna beam you from the range, but the players for E4 Knights are out on towards this site. Player number 6 of King, they gotta be in this power position to read this.
Dave can be the first one falling, getting very aggressive, going right down the center, and had 2 barrels pointed his way. That makes it a 3v4, but RJ Santee hunting to try and get that trade back. Not going to happen. Same as round 1. UTK are looking clean in how they set this up. They aren't over pushing. They aren't giving away their lives too easy, and it's going to force out the rotation to the opposite side now as E4 make their way onto the B site. Should be a clean plant for themselves, but in the 4v2, this retake is definitely looking good for the side of Tennessee. No one's going to go across quite yet as RJ Santee finds that first one onto Specs. Costa gets the second, and we're even back up.
Not again. This is round 1 all over again. Isolated
really
gunfights, they're coming through. E4 Knights, they're making the rotation of what once was a rotation. Now they're going to find themselves on the A site. Brilliantly done. The bomb's going to get planted. King and Swizz are the last players remaining here for UTK. They got to double up. They're coming up from escalators.
Here they come. Number 7 going to be the
They're not
first one.
doubling up.
Wizzy not going to double up. You're right. King going the long way around, but they're taking their time. I like that they're not pushing immediately at the very least. Still going to be a difficult angle as King could get found out. Is going to be just that. What are you thinking? Running out into the middle of nowhere, and it's in 2-0 when it all comes down. 4 straight kills for the E4 Knights, and that's 3 straight rounds to go with it.
And I'm not too sure whether or not there were flashes or Semtexes left there for the 2 remaining players for UTK, but that's why I was asking if they were going to double up coming through from escalators. You check those immediate corners. Worst comes to worst, you play for the trade. You leave yourself in a 1v1. There's more than enough cover to be able to try to slide your safety to. It's just unfortunate that doesn't end up coming through. UTK White, they try to play for the pinch coming through the open staircase outside of P3. Just does not play out for them. E4 Knights able to come back from another 2v4, much like in round number 1 for UTK on an offense. They're just going to play slow, just trying to play for some information. There are 2 players for E4 Knights that are actually aggressively pushing through Metro. Specs will be here through the gold alleyway. They will read that. That's first blood.
Yeah, and then second blood to follow it up as RJ Santee going to go down. There were body sprays after that one as all of a sudden UTK are feeling all right, but Jumper going to trade it on back and give it his own. 1v4 as UTK were ready. They liked the slow play, and E4 ran right into it. Sometimes a good strategy can be all you need to win a round right here, and they are up, but I still hesitate to say they are out of this round with a win just because of the collapses we've seen in rounds 1 and 3 already.
And it's Jumper. Don't give them isolated gunfights. Little Jumpy comes through. Joe saw them for sure. Semtex are going to come through and try to clear it. Yeah, Joe's just on the brickhead. Yeah, it's a godlike position. You're not going to win that gunfight easily. So UTK, and they put themselves on the board, and that's a much-needed round. You don't want to be down 4-0, Jay. Just be able to try to break any sort of momentum that this squad has on top of you. Because, I mean, for this E4 Knights roster, they are just outgunning you. They are just outsmarting you as far as rotations are concerned. And most importantly, UTK, just stop giving them isolated gunfights. You're not winning them.
Yeah, and I mean, that just seemed like a little bit of the ego taking over for the E4 Knights. As you said, there were aggressive positions all over the place for the defensive side, sprinting towards the offensive spawns, and you're just going into angles that are already covered up. So see now if they slow down or if they continue to play fast and furious. UTK need this one, though. The defensive rounds have looked so good at the start. They have fallen apart at the end. They close one out, and this is a fresh game.
They're trying to jostle for position here on the A side. A lot of tacks have been thrown. A lot of Semtexes as well. Nobody read that King was in the corner. Trades 2 for 2. Bomb still being carried by Casa. And there are players over by Square, so they can't feel comfortable with this plan quite yet.
At the very least, it's not a 4 versus 2 that it's devolved into this 2-2. It is pretty even on momentum between the two sides, and Casa not going to rush himself forward to get this plant down. Letting Jumper come up, give him a little bit of coverage, get that information across as the rotations are going to try and slip through now for Tennessee. Svek's going to be the first one covering mid, and Joe really going the long way around through the defensive spawn. He has to be careful, though. Jumper has already sniffed it out. He's going to try and find this angle, and now is when you wonder the patience. He has it. Spec's going to be the first one to fall, and we're left in the 2v1. Joe getting found out, able to even it up, and we are 1 versus 1 with time ticking away. You have to save time to get this diffused through, and Jumper is just holding this angle, waiting for him. The challenge is there, and he's going to have time. Put a few extra in, and UTK get 2 in a row.
Yeah, that was so wise of Joe, too. You get the isolated one over by the bulletin board, and then just reset. You had 28 seconds, more than enough time for the regen to come through. Jumper was not going to push that. You knew they had a Crick 6 versus another AR in mind. And again, it's just so wise. You'll see it play out from the best play. Joe, there's the slide challenge from Costa. Waits for the regen to come through. The Semtex clears enough space, but there's enough time on the board here, Morgan, for where Joe finds the reach out. Wise enough, checks all the way to the deep corner. Joe does not expect it. Or I'm sorry, Jumper does not expect it. Joe lives with just a very small amount of HP, but a big round coming through. 2 in a round now for UTK. A brilliant retake over by the A site coming through from P2. And E4 Knights now on the side for Defense going to be looking for a strong setup. UTK going to start getting heated up.
And listen, the pressure in those 1v1s is immense, but there's got to be something in the back of your head saying Jumper needs to find those shots. He was pre-aiming the angle, knew exactly where Joe had to come from because of the time difference, and just lost the 1v1. Shout out to UTK's top member, and they might have finally found their MVP gunner as Joe sits 7-3, playing it slow again here from the attacking side.
Just trying to find information. Maybe some shoulders were thrown that I didn't see over by the A site, but this is going to call for an immediate rotation. 50 seconds on the board. Dave's in the cutout wall, so they're going to see players past the globe side. So now what do you do if you're UTK? They're trapped inside gold here, Morgan. So you're almost thinking that you try to almost challenge Dave. That's going to be King that tries to throw a couple shots that way. E4 Knight's not immediately over-rotating because Dave hasn't seen enough players cross, but UTK, with 30 seconds remaining, they're actually going to double back through Fountain, go all the way over towards A, where 2 players are defensively held up.
At the very least, that did get 1 rotation off of the site, so it's a 2v4 coming into the site instead of a 3v4. RJ Santee, a lot of pressure on him with this 74U to make something happen, and Spec's going to be the first target. Gets the 1, can't get the second. It's a 2v1 in on the site. That's going to open it up. That's going to be the plant down, and that's going to be man advantage for UTK as E4 rushes across, and they are rushing through. Jumper trying to push forward. Dave right there with them, but all of a sudden they think this might be just a bit too aggressive. They put on the brakes. Dave going to be the next one in. Swizzy gets the trade, and it's a 1v3 looking good to tie up this map. UTK White have found their momentum.
Trying to bait out this kill. Maybe Joe is able to find it. Jumper's going to be able to find at least another kill. That's on the Swizzy, but there's just not enough time here. You just play the corners. Joe's going to get the challenge. Oh, that's just unfortunate. Jumper finds another one. King, keep your life. No, King! No, King! No! Jumper, why?
Gonna have the time, and... listen, if you're a UTK fan, I give you my humblest apology because what was I supposed to know that with 20 seconds left in a 3v1, that Jumper could just come through and do something like this? Count them 1, the second around the corner, and the third on the turnaround shot. You are exactly right, King. Why do you challenge this so early?
Morgan, I feel like a very disgruntled uncle, and these 4 kids of UTK are sitting in front of me, and I'm just sitting here just trying to explain to them that you can't take isolated 1v1s versus E4 Knights. You're not winning them. You're not winning them. Jumper finds 3 isolated gunfights, wins all 3 in sequence, catches the first sprinting, gets the info, Joe's in the corner, and gets more than enough information to sit on top of the bomb, lays prone, gets the bait play. You just can't let that happen. So now UTK White, whatever momentum you had thought was burning inside the gauntlet flame for them through those 2 rounds, that's got to be completely evaporated. E4 Knights for their offense are playing slow and coy inside of the bus over by the Boulevard. Just, again, playing for the information, waiting to see if they can get an unforced error, but none of it's coming through. We got 55 seconds left in the round.
Just what was King doing? I can't... oh, that's going to be something. I mean, they have the VOD to look back at, and that'll be a big circle with the yellow highlighter with just question marks around it. Now comes the start of the play for E4 Knights, taking control of space here in the bottom side, and it's looking like a 3v2 momentarily. King going to back up, seems to be sensing it through, might have just spotted one of the members, but no one from UTK looking to rotate quite yet. Speaking of rotations, though, across the middle of the map go E4. They want to go straight up escalators, and now as I say it, UTK do send another member back through spawns. It's a lot of pressure on this man right here, Swizzy, to make something happen. First kill gonna go down. Pre-fire on the spray, nothing to follow it up. But UTK have at least managed to survive these first few seconds. The bomb plant came down in a 3v4. Post plant is really applying the pressure. Specs gets the second one. It's a pinch opportunity for UTK, or for E4 if they can find the timing just right. There's the 1-for-1. Costa trying to do it again for his team, but not gonna be enough this time. UTK get around back for themselves.
Ooh, that was tense. A little tug of war going back and forth as far as trades, but UTK, hey, they don't over-aggress. They just hold the angles as far as the retake is concerned, just trying to count heads. Waiting for the challenges to come their way. Brilliantly done. Again, like you talked about, Costa almost got through with it. This entire round started with 2 players offensively, including the bomb carrier, playing inside the rusted bus by Boulevard. No information was immediately found, so they had no choice but to quickly reconvene over towards the A site. They get the quick bomb plant, but UTK, what a brilliant retake for them. making this a one-round affair between them and E4 Knights. Would love to tie up the series one apiece. Yep, you need that bomb. Swizzy is able to go back and grab that sucker. But as far as an offense is concerned, consider this to be slowed up, I would think. But nope, King has different ideas. He's going to hit this all the way through. Solo.
Yeah, getting all the way through, and obviously not expecting it are the E4 Knights, because UTK have been sitting on their heels this entire game. Doesn't matter what side of the map they are spawning on. Now they have this advanced position while the rest of the players take it slow, and that could be a nasty surprise if E4 are not ready for it. Looking like a 3v4 over here, as still it has been full A-side focus for the side of UTK thus far. RG Santi is going to have the angle on, and that's the information. They know now where King is playing from, but the position is still given away as Fex is the first one onto the board, knocking down Costa. Aggression now. Swizzy wants this plant to come through, but RJ Santi still up and alive. You gotta know he is there in the corner as the Semtex can't finish him off, and RJ looking for another. Fex gets his second kill on the round, taking us into the 2v3 as Jumper plays from inside. Can't finish off the kills onto Joe, but the flank is coming from behind. Dave, with the hero's mindset, wants to knock down a couple, gets the first, the bomb plant is through, and all of a sudden, take a deep breath. We're left in a 2 versus 2.
So Jumper actually rotated all the way through. We'll double up with Dave. They're going to challenge Brick Wall. Specs on the head. He was going to be able to take down Dave. So now Jumper. And a 1v2. 7-4 for them. Going to be able to get the cross. Nobody's looking at Jumper. They push all the way through. Joe ate a couple shots through their heels. There's 20 seconds remaining. Joe's going to challenge and lose the gunfight again. Jumper closes out the round for their team. Puts themselves up on map point.
And what a 1v1. The top team, or the top player from each team, Jumper taking on Joe, and revenge for the earlier firefight Joe took home. It was there. It was all ready for UTK White, and the storyline at the end of this one, if they end up losing it, is gonna be these rounds giving away. Why were both members looking at the same angle? Jumper doesn't know, but he will take it and take the round.
Well, the last place they saw Jumper was outside of green over by P2, right? You didn't get the full information, at least I don't think so. Fex was able to find that opening kill for the immediate challenge off of Dave, but did they see Jumper behind them? I'm not too sure because we didn't see it from their perspective. I'm not too sure that Jumper was that close, but either way, they didn't have the information. Jumper just challenges it all the way through. Couldn't find the trade. Map point for E4 Knights, and why not? The old reliable go ahead through A very quickly. No, Jumper breaks off. They want to look at the gold alleyway, but King might be the player to break this up. They're on the brick heading.
Dave can be the first one down to that man you just mentioned. They know Costa is right up to his left. It's going to be 2 lined up for a second there as Costa tried to rotate across. The COD timing in favor of UTK White through this round, and they are up in the 4v2, but we've seen it before. All of a sudden, though, a 4v1 is a lot harder to lose, but the one man standing is Jumper, the one guy you don't still want up for Tennessee, because he has put it to him over and over again. Bomb in hand and the B site open. He can go that direction, but it seems like he wants to take a second, go up the escalator. Look at the arrows, though. This decision may not be the best, as Fex is gonna just take the shots as he is finished off. Still alive, UTK White.
Gonna have to be another round to send it to a round 11 for UTK, but again, like I talked about, King was the player that was gonna break things up. They actually don't hit all the way through in the brick head. They don't even poke out. You hear information, whether or not it was player, whether it was calm to them or not, Morgan, that they ended up pulling back towards their side of the staircase, and then re-challenge once they have the numbers advantage. Brilliantly executed there for UTK White on the defense. Fex is 12-8, 8-5 for Joe. On the other side, Jumper's at 9-5. Looking pretty good across from top to bottom, but D4 Knights that have been able to execute on these sites, and don't forget those early rounds where they were able to win 2v4, looking to close it out on this defense. But for the offense is concerned for UTK, Bomb is being carried by King, and we know they like to get aggressive through the top side of escalators. They could throw a couple shots, but think twice before they're committing.
King jumping over the stairs like I made a mistake. Here comes Dave, though, out of nowhere. Able to pick up that first one, and this needs to be a 1-for-1 trade, but no, he gets 2. Can't quite turn the third, but the damage is already done. They were not expecting the flank coming through the bottom side, and we are left into this 3v2. UTK, they've been playing from ahead a lot, and it has not been the position they want to be in. Now they are playing from behind. They need a clutch to stay in this game. Can E4 close it out?
Well, they're thinking that they're buying enough time to maybe they could find another player on a flank, but between Joe and Swizzy, they're split up. You got Swizzy looking through Metro. We got Joe over by the Boulevard just trying to find information. They might reconvene and execute on top of this B site. Player number 2 is Jumper. So if somebody aggresses inside of the apartments, Jumper will be able to see this through the glass. But now we're down to 20 seconds. You got to make a play happen. And yes, the bomb site is closest will be B. Jumper's in a great spot to be able to read this if they do commit all the way through. But UTK, they got to get inside. They got to drop this bomb.
Still just not finding the feet there. Swizzy is going to get spotted out, so here comes the rotation the other direction. Bomb plant will come through, taking us to the post plant situation, but Costa sprinting in a little bit too slow, but Joe on the way out gets caught, and it's all up to Swizzy. 1v3 here with the bomb timer in favor, but I don't think it'll go that deep. He needs to find a couple kills to give his team a hope. In come the members of E4. They're going to go for it. Double challenge, only needs the first. Costa gets it finished off, and the E4 Knights go up 2-0 on the map count.
Yeah, in this map within its own self, too, it's kind of like the hard point in a way that E4 Knights, they were starting to win out pretty early. That pace was definitely dictated. UTK, they were able to exemplify what it looks like when you're able to meet fast pace with just slow, methodical, try to fade out the information. But then E4 Knights, they sit there. They are able to do the same exact thing, just trying to play for the information, play for the rotations, play the mind games, the macro, everything that you need to be a top dog inside of the CCL. E4 Knights look pretty marvelous. But UTK White, again, you keep back them into a quarter. They're going to bite back eventually. Did a great job of trying to restart themselves through the hard point and the Moscow on search and destroy. It just wasn't enough to be able to get a map win. Now they are down 0-2. But these E4 Knights roster, again, going in towards this matchup, they were 2-0, I believe, on the 1-0 on the Moscow hard point. UTK White, they had not played that map mode combo throughout the entirety of split number 1. Not too sure how it ended up coming through. Maybe some scrims are coming better for UTK, but at the end of the day, it's just not enough. They got to try to come back under control.
I mean, if I'm being honest, when you look at some of those rounds, UTK was looking good, especially from the defensive side. At the starts of the rounds, they were the better team, and you can't deny that. They
lost 2 4v2s. 2 4v2s.
Yeah, that's at the starts of the round, okay? At the end of the round, that's where they need to clean it up, because it was not a good map for E4, and they're going to be coming back looking at this, say what went wrong early, but they are just more clutch. They have those big players that make those big plays, and his name is Jumper. I mean, let's be honest about it. It's a weird map for both of those teams to look back on, but I honestly, for UTK, they finish out how to finish those rounds. Moscow might have a chance for them to become a good SND map, because the early starts, I was loving it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Moscow Search and Destroy, again, like you were talking about at the beginning when you asked me what we were going to be looking at. A lot of teams, like they do try to favor that A rush, and you will still see that tried and true old strategy being used on Moscow Search and Destroy. But the methodical play, trying to play for information, it built a very beautiful picture between these two teams. But E4 Knights, all the wiser, they were able to execute these rotations. And again, when it came down to a 3v1, 1v2s, didn't necessarily matter. Every single time that it was an isolated gunfight, it seemed that it was E4 Knights being able to close out the round win, even with the numbers disadvantage. 2v4s, they were able to win, and Jumper was able to win a 1v3 along the way. Those are kind of type things that you got to be able to work on those trades. You got to be able to work on those executes. That one double challenge, I believe it was round number 7, maybe round number 8 or so. That came out from E4 Knights that had Dave and Jumper just challenging out together from escalators for 2 remaining players for UTK White. They just couldn't end up coming out on top of that because they were looking at the same direction, didn't get the information needed, and they just couldn't keep their lives too. And there's just a lot of different things that I could be nitpicky about, but definitely a lot of work needs to be done through split number 2 to finish out in the top part of Top Cut to make your way into playoffs.
Well, the map count sits 2-0 for the E4 Knights, and you know that they want to finish off this split 2 matchup with a clean sweep and prove themselves to be at the top of this conference. Map number 3 is going to be Checkmate on the Control. What do you like? What do you think the end up will be? Now that you've seen these teams a little bit, you can actually make a choice. Who do you think will be coming out on top?
I think this is going to favor the E4 Knights. Out of all 3 game modes, this is actually, at least for UTK White, this is actually their worst game mode. They are 5-4 overall, 7-2 for E4 Knights. But most importantly, Morgan, this is Checkmate. This is a long-range map. A lot of open opportunities for what? A Crig 6, because we're in the new GAs, baby. Who am I looking at? It's got to be Jumpers. They got a 2.46 KD overall. You have not unimpressed me so far throughout the night. I am excited to be able to see what Jumpers can do in this map mode.
Oh, but there goes RJ Santi around the corner. Too bad Costa Semtex was great as well, so it turns into a 1-for-1 trade. The A site gets opened up. Swizzy is going to be able to take top plane control, so this is a great start, and that's going to be real rough. I don't know what the reason is for the early end, but That honestly kind of hurts for UTK because that's exactly what you want out of a start there on checkmate control. You get the kill at the top of the map, so you have a guy in on A site, and you take control of top and bottom of plane. Coming out into the restart here, it's gonna be sitting in their mind, and a bad jump off this restart would really it would really hurt UTK right now.
Yeah, you just do the same thing, right? You just hope that
Yeah,
the
it's
same
that
outcome
easy.
ends
You
up
know what?
happening. Yeah, yeah.
If you're losing, just hit headshots. It's that
yeah,
easy. Like, what are
yeah,
you talking about?
just make sure that you have core fundamentals just popping off, and you're able to at least drop a 2.0 KD in every single map mode that you play, regardless of the situation at hand. But yeah, I mean, it was a great opening, and again, checkmate control. Whether you're looking at this from defense or offense, being able to find those angles of opportunity through that blue wing, looking at the A lane. Yes, that is going to come through by nothing but playing control. Your submachine guns will be your immediate players to try to be those players on defense, and always try to get that back into your favor, because it makes your AR's job so much easier to be able to find those kills, be able to lock down those lanes. Offense, on the other hand, you're looking for those rogue players to be able to work off of those opportunities that were presented from ARs, and then being able to be finding those spawns off, or those kills off the spawn, would definitely be in a good spot. But for both of these teams going in towards this matchup, it really all ends up coming down to who's going to be able to find the kills, yes, but who's going to be able to come out on top as far as map pressure is concerned. Kills mean everything as far as lives are concerned, and the sway is for the round, but even so, it comes down to the map pressure. If you're able to find 3 kills and you're on defense, send at least one player, get a couple spawn kills, try to dwindle that down, because you're always looking for a new win condition on control.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you about. How prevalent do you think the spawn kills are going to be throughout? Because obviously, checkmate, very strong spawn trap for the defense. If you get a couple of kills, we've seen individual players just go off and melt through teams' lives. But if you can ever get that big 3 kill to free up a player to push forward, it doesn't end up becoming a real issue. Do you think that E4 will be able to find that? And opposite, do you think UTK will be able to get there?
I think it's going to be interesting to see. You always think that those roguelike players, all the way back to Black Ops 4, when Control was most infamously played before it came back inside Cold War, frequency came to mind when you are playing for those spawn kills across any Control map, really, and they are very influential. Keep in mind, that was 5v5 versus now 4v4. So yeah, the spawn kills, they are absolutely punishing, especially on checkmate, because do find those few spawn kills when you are thinking about from the offensive standpoint. You get one of those rogue players inside a wood, and they're just finessing around those jump walls, and just always keeping the defense, at least one player looking for them, but they find another kill. Now you're sending 2 players to try to take the zone. That's a 2v3 and a 1v2. You're not waiting inside your own spawn. Those win conditions that I'm talking about, it comes through by dwindling down the lives. If the offensive team is unable to touch those zones, the clock starts to tick all the way down. There's another win condition that comes all the way through. Those spawn kills, they might just mean everything, but it's not going to come through by a sub all the time on checkmate. Yes, more often than not, you will see that happen, but all the way up to the CDL level of play on checkmate, again, a land for ARs to find these opportunities. A Crick 6 can go AWOL in those long lines of sight all the way inside the spawns, Morgan, to be able to make their influence known.
Yeah, and I mean, you also have to be aware of who's your best player on the map at any given time. And so even though he may have a Crick 6 in his hand, to send forward your best guy, I just immediately lost him in my head, to send forward Jumper, obviously, he is your hottest gun right now. So there might be the call that if he is close enough to go and take that advantage, you know he can win these 1v1 fights. The Search and Destroy proved that for yourself. And I would be watching him to just be itching to get aggressive and knocking down these UTK players.
Yeah, I mean, every single time. I mean, even through the Search and Destroy, Jumper was in a 1v3 more often than not. You'll sit there and be like, oh, it's chalk. Yeah, it's a 1v3. That definitely doesn't have enough time. Well, they were able to do it. A Jumper in a 1v odd situation on a hard point would be like, oh, there's no way you're going to be able to break inside that hill. Or even Costa, for that matter. They were able to do that as well on the hard point. That's what's going to be most important coming inside this checkmate control. Again, those kills, how are you going to be able to influence the map? Jumper can put themselves in all the positions in the world, but if they find 3 kills, E4 Knight's got to be able to take control of this map. They got to be able to swing a couple zones, stack those zones so that way you can get those early captures, get that early 60 seconds, and on defense, be able to work those spawn kills. Always keep UTK on their back foot. The same could be said for UTK White. You saw Joe go on an absolute tear in that map. Sphex was probably the best that they looked in the Search and Destroy and at the tail end of that raid hardpoint. They're going to need a collective evolve that if there's any hope of a reverse sweep here.
Yeah, and I think a lot of pressure goes onto King. He has their best control KDA. And so to come through and have something big happen, especially after a very struggling start to map number 1 on those respawns, he kind of got back there, had some good moments in the SND, had some bad moments in the SND. This is where it is all up. Your back is against the wall. You have to cement some good play to give your team a chance to stay up.
Yeah, absolutely. You just hope that that's going to be the case. For UTK White, you want one of those breakout players. By the way, everybody is inside the lobby, so we will be starting this checkmate control. So you can stop asking me inside chat. I don't know if that's actually happening. I don't have chat open, but I just assume that somebody's probably chatting in there. Caster start the match. It's not up to me, all right? It's the lobbies. But anyway, yeah, this is going to be a big moment in towards split number 2, regardless of the outcome. Morgan E4 Knights again walking in here. They are ranked 11 overall as far as how far you're able to throw the digital copy of the top 25 power rankings. Still in a good spot because inside this top cut for the coastal region, you do have number 10 University of Alabama. UTK White were able to beat them, so E4 Knights got to be feeling pretty comfortable about that. But you still have Georgia Southern, Eagles caught gold looming in the distance. They're ranked number 5 in a very shark-infested waters going in towards playoffs. And a lot of practice ahead of both of these teams to be able to polish themselves to be able to even get there. There's still a lot of weeks of play to come.
And I mean, I guess for the committee that picks those top 25, might be patting themselves on the back a little bit. Your ranked team is winning here over UTK. I always was hoping, I love the underdog story, but the results speak for themselves right now as E4 are up 2-0. Waiting to get back into this checkmate. I guess the last thing that I really want to go over is, do you have a player you need to call out for UTK White? Obviously, the guy I said was King, but we've given so much attention to every single individual player on E4, what they need to do coming into this game. Feel like we're giving away a little bit of UTK. We haven't talked about them quite enough. They might be getting jealous over there inside of the chat. Who is your guy to watch out for?
Well, I mean, I think this wouldn't really comes down to how your captain is. Who's leading the comms in here? I know that Specs is in fact the captain for UTK White. How are the comms looking like? How are you able to keep these guys relaxed? Because you just again you lost pretty bad in the early goings of that raid hardpoint. You were able to bounce back effectively towards the end, but you still lost. Same thing for that Moscow hardpoint or search and destroy rather. You were able to at least take a few rounds, get it all the way to round 10 where you did end up losing, but pretty effective rounds of being able to find the trades. There are a lot of things that happen that can mentally boom any player, regardless of the level that you end up playing, even if it's pubs at home. So you got to look towards the captain of the communication to be able to see what they are doing to be able to keep this team stable-minded, to be able to go in towards this match with a clear state of mind, knowing that, yes, you are down, but there's no way that you are counted out quite yet.
All right, but with that, we're going to send it to a quick break while we wait for map number 3 to load in. But stick around. This one is nearly done, and we'll be right back. All right, a quick turnaround as we are in and ready to go. Can UTK White jump out in an aggressive start as they did last time? There goes Joe with the first one onto RJ Santee as Swizzy looks for this top plane control. Around the corner comes Costa. He's actually going to get tagged up by that grenade. Swizzy continues to rock the inside here, and it is indeed another good start out the gate for UTK.
And again, like I was talking about before we threw to the break, what it comes down to for checkmate control, playing control, playing control, playing control. It is just so emphatic to be able to get your submachine guns in there. It makes your AR job so much easier. As far as we're concerned here, not too great for UTK White. They lost the initial break off, so now we're looking at 45 seconds. The map pressure is here for E4 Knights. Joe's still finessing inside of their own spawn, just trying to deal with these pesky members for E4 Knights. Finally, the kills come through, Morgan, and they might stop the clock here for a handful of seconds.
Yeah, Swizzy getting aggressive, though, to try and chase down that kill into RJ Santee. Gets tagged up, but does not go down. You're seeing an interesting position now as B is the focus for UTK White. I mean, you take what you can get. King way back here on the backside. You were talking about how you can work around Wood. Gonna find that big kill for himself onto RJ Santee. Just be in the back of the minds of E4 as the first time of control comes through, but the second not quite there. Jumper cleaning up the man on point.
And you still got Swizzy. They're keeping their life down here at B. There's going to be a second tick of progress uncontested before the first line of defense will be here. It's going to be Costa. They will slide, jump, and take Swizzy down. Still good progress to speak of. 30 seconds remaining. Lives not too far gone for UTK White. Keep in mind, they are on the offense here, so they got to stop the clock. It's going to be Specs that does that over by the A zone, but the pressure is just too much to bear. E4 Knights, they have ARs in such pristine spots. They got SMGs lurking around the corner. Needs a big moment to come through for UTK White.
Yeah, and the problem of getting all that early control on B is it's a tough hill to finish off, and now you have to find one as the time ticks away. 2 big kills towards the top side of the map, and that's also where the UTK is going to be respawning from, in that top right. Based on where the arrows are going, though, they want to finish off this B side. They have to sneak on by Costa, and there's 3 quick ones. King, the last man standing, all the pressure on him with 5 seconds remaining to make this happen. Has to worry about the men coming off respawn, has to worry about Dave right behind, and that kill is going to be enough to finish it off. The final seconds tick by, and E4 gonna win it off the timer here in round 1.
Again, it was just too much tacked on early. I mean, you lose that initial break off on checkmate control. You got players already lurking inside your spawn. By the time the trades were all had settled, we're down to about 45 seconds remaining. Big plays do come through to try to stop the clock over by B. You found 2 ticks of progress, but like you said there, Morgan, that's what the harder zone to try to capture. You're almost hoping that you were going to be able to hunker things down more over by the A zone. UTK White, they just couldn't find any progress over towards B. Not enough time to speak of in E4 Knights. They just swarmed all of UTK White and let the time clock dwindle all the way down. So now E4 Knights on the offense. Can they create some magic? Early breakoff is going to be able to favor them. That opens up the A lane wonderfully.
Yeah, in they come. E4 gonna get some time over there on the A side, as it is both Jumper and Costa. King gonna come on the flank around, make something happen. Almost runs past, and he actually loses that one. Or no, Costa traded it. It was so fast, it was hard to tell. It is going to be E4 left standing, though, with the 2 men over here on A, and this is what you want your initial break to look like. A lot of pressure over on A. It's an easier site to finish off. RJ able to get those shots up into the inside of plane as the second tap just gets through in time, and Jumper is still there melting through. UTK are not going to be able to stop this A pressure anytime soon, it feels like.
It's the last line of offense here. Joe tries to stop it. King will get the trade halfway towards the 3rd tick, but again, the opening breakoff goes by way of E4 Knights, and they get a lot of footing on the map itself. Yes, lives are even, but 2 ticks of progress over towards A. 1 more break are all E4 Knights need to be able to get inside here, but King trying to work this, trying to get a 3 spree going for themselves, will be cut down. And well, now E4 Knights, they got a pretty good spread of things. Kills in their favor. Kill feed all White in their favor. That will be the A zone in 60 seconds.
The thought that's coming to my head right now is, how is Costa not the guy with the highest KDs on this team? Because 15-5 out of the gates, he is right back to where he left off from map number 1. 3 kills in a row, though, for UTK to try and turn things around. They are able to hold off the pressure here for a few moments. Now starting to have King push forward. E4 off their respawn will have everybody grouped up in this next clash. It could be ending for UTK if they don't stand strong and get a couple kills. There goes King with the first one. Dave gonna trade it on back, but I don't see enough pressure here on the plane side for E4 to really get a good hold going.
You got time to slow things down. You're even as far as lives are concerned, so just slow up, get your respawns going, and just try to find these kills. But every single time E4 Knights, they get a player close enough towards the zone, they get cut down, and they just can't reinforce themselves. Take the plane away. Work the next 45 seconds just to get the map pressure away from UTK White. That is a big kill onto King. That opens up the plane, but Specs finds 3. That's going to shut down the next push. We're going to be sub 60 seconds, and UTK White, they got a 4 life lead.
Yeah, this is taking me back to that round in SND where E4 just ran directly into the guns of UTK White, and they paid heavily for it. Now Specs still on that streak, gonna find one more for himself before Dave trades it back, and it's a 5 respawn lead for themselves. So is he trying to end it now as E4, every member down to their final lives here. You go down, you lose a big amount of your map presence, so everything means just that much more. UTK still with 9 on their own back pocket. They are feeling good for themselves, but in comes RJ Santee, gonna knock down Swizzy as the pressure builds. Specs is going to get back, trying to make a play around the top side, but King wants to end it here and now, gets the first, can't turn the second, as the B site has still not been played, and E4 are just looking for these kills all over the map. Costa with 1, Costa wanting the next as we're slowly evening it back up, but it's 2v5 here in the final moments. Jumper needs to make some big plays. In comes the first, boom goes the second, as it is a 1v3. Jumper the last one standing. It's a 1v2. Is this SND all over again? No, UTK just able to hold on.
Oh, man. I thought there was about to be a place where we were about to go where Jumper closes that out. Starting to run low on the bullets. They quickly spot the Diamante. Seems there's 74U they could play with. Finds another kill. Getting shot off over towards spawn, and well, then they were getting pinched from the side. That was a tough spot to be in, but oh, what a great shot for E4 Knights to potentially close out an offense on checkmate. for control, which is no easy feat. Keep in mind, you are just getting battered and bruised. If you do not win a clean breakoff to get the middle of the map in your favor for the offense, that's exactly what happens. You saw it from UTK White's perspective, and then the same thing happens from E4 Knight's perspective, where they just cannot get past their spawn cleanly enough. The clock just too much to deal with. Life's also becoming a question as well, but the offense for UTK White not as strong. They only got 2 ticks of progress towards the B's zone, but they lost the immediate player off the immediate break, Morgan, so they're just waiting for reinforcements and kills to come their way, so that way they can start working their way towards the A zone.
UTK have been getting a lot of good kills here early in the rounds. They did it in round number 1, but they just couldn't push it off later. King getting very aggressive outside of plane, but now going to try and turn things around. His teammates make some work happen, but boom goes Jumper for the 2. Swizzy and Specs both going to fall, and that is every member of UTK going back into their respawns. Rethinking about where they want to go with this one now. All the members stuck inside middle, and it seems like B is where the arrows are pointing.
They would love to be able to find these kills. Again, the pressure is just a little bit too more spaced out. Specs big kill on RJ Santi. Jumper's just sitting over here, by the way. Crick 6. Probably just waiting for the info, but player's going to touch the A zone. Yeah, there's Jumper's going to turn around and deal with them in kind. So UTK White, now they're down to 25 seconds. Lost the immediate break-off. Has not won one clean enough. Another player in front of Joe. They will be cut to pieces. 20 seconds remaining for UTK White to make a play.
Yeah, they got to do it here and now. Only 19 seconds means a full wipe does not give a lot of time to get back in onto either of these sites. It's going to have to come by B yet again. And at this point, you have to assume that's the strategy of E4. Completely cover A, force them over by B, and try and get a retake. Swizzy in the 2v1, unable to finesse it out, but in comes Specs around the backside, picks up 2 on Acosta and RJ Santi, and he'll have a little bit of time. Teammates off the respawn should get there in time to help out the rest of the squad as Jumper picks up 1. Time ticking yet again. You have to have someone in on one of these sites, and King gonna make the call to go all the way across to A. That is risky. You don't have any control over there on that site. Joe gonna get knocked off on B. Everything now riding here. There is no longer time to get off of these respawns, get all the way back in as UTK hold their own. Jumper to be the first one to look. Dave goes down, and it's 2 for 0 there. E4 hoping to hold on here, but 2 taps of control on A. It is still anybody's game. Look at that bar rocket forward. UTK need this big hold, but it's not gonna happen! RJ Santi with the double, and the timer's gonna run out.
Oh, it was that first player. King was stuck. He was down prone, just couldn't track him down. RJ Santi catches 2 players doubled up.
Yeah, I was about to say, we'll see from their perspective. Here's some quality beams for the first. Is this the play? I think it is. Towards the very end. Yeah, he's going to go ahead and challenge this with a Crick 6. Yeah, they're just
where they were lined up.
Yeah, you're just... Let's see, you go back to back. Shoe gums to shoe gums, soul to soul. I don't really care at the end of the day. That's just so unfortunate. UTK White with 20 seconds remaining, the best shot came through, and I really respect the call to be able to double focus both the zones. E4 Knights, they get UTK off of the B zone. We were hoping for the pinch to be a little bit more effective. UTK White, they start to hold their own in the A zone, but RJ Santi makes a heroic play. 3 spree for them so far. Maybe they might play for streaks, but E4 Knights now in a way that they could potentially close this out here in this round if they continue on the slaying that we saw through the previous 2.
Yeah, that's a rough one. You gotta hope that Joe wins that firefight to finish it off. The stick does come through for RJ Santi to knock down Specs. And for UTK, you were still playing from the defensive side. It is the favorite side, but it was very, very close the last time through. They need it, and A is already at 2 taps. This looks like E4 just got angry. They want to prove something with this round as they come out of the gates hot and are already about to finish off this site. In fact, there is no way for UTK to get in and force them off, so it'll be a battle for the B site this entire round to try and stay alive for UTK. Down 2-0 on the map count and down 2-1 on the rounds. They need to win these next 2 to get a chance in this game.
You not only just want to win this, you want to try to win this as cleanly as possible. It might just be too far gone. I mean, Swizzy is at 7 and 20, but when it goes to round 5, you're mostly looking at the collective kills between the 2. But King and Specs have been going absolutely AWOL. 25 and 17, 23 and 21. You're hoping for a very clean defense here. A minute 45 to be able to do so. 2 life lead for the offensive team of E4 Knights. They're just trying to spread things out, trying to play for the information. They see Swizzy on top of the crate. He's going to be able to find that kill. Now it's immediately focused towards plane control.
Dave's going to get one big one. Can't turn the next on to King, so playing control still just even between the two sides. There goes the spray, though, for Joe onto RJ Santee, so not too bad out of UTK White thus far. They're down 3 lives, but that is not the end of the world. It's really looking for when E4 try to make a break on this B site. The last time they were in from the attacking side, they were just looking for kills. They never really felt like they were trying to finish off these tabs of control. I wonder if that hubris will get them again if they start giving up kills over to guys like Specs, but 3 kills the other way seems to make it seem like they want to finish this here and now. The first tab of control done by B, and the only one able to disrupt it will be Craig King up on the top side. He's gonna go down. Specs' Semtex is able to find one, but control still stays for E4 Knights.
Yeah, they're stacking the seconds in progress for B here. You gotta contest it. If you are Joe hitting it from the side, it's gonna be able to find one. Dave's the last player remaining. He's gonna step it off for the time being. You also got Costa being a pest over towards Wood. They will be cut down to size as well. That got really scary. Second tick of progress has been gained, but not a spacing available for UTK White. We're down to 8 lives compared to the 15. E4 Knights, this is giving information towards them, so they have 2 winning conditions ahead of the Morgan.
Yeah, looking to finish it off in a very strong fashion now, but the lives still can tick away as King knocks down RJ Santee from the top side, but it's not even going to matter. The control is already finished. E4 Knights have already won their 3rd round, and they win the game 3-0. There were moments where UTK showed the grit. They showed how they could fight, but it was never enough to win a map, and a dominant victory for E4.
Yeah, and then when you go back, and it's something that you ended up talking to me about in the middle of the round, you were wondering why Costa wasn't holding a higher stat ratio comparatively to Jumper. You got to think about the roles of those 2 were playing, right? I mean, Costa was that pest, was that rogue member, both on defense and offense, that was going in towards the spawns, that was looking for the pinches, that was looking for the routes to be able to upset the setups for UTK White. The only difference in between UTK White and having a player to be able to try to do the same in either King or Specs, well, Costa was just finding the kills, and that's the biggest difference. And they were more than just finding the kills. They were being able to trade their life from 1 to 3, working from their spawn all the way towards the enemies. And that is just so influential to allow Jumper to play their role with the AR, with the Crick 6, playing the lane. RJ Santee was able to do the same thing because Costa and Dave, they were just so brilliant the way that they were pinching, doubling up together, being able to quite literally bulldoze their way through checkmate control to never really make it feel like UTK White had map pressure to speak of.
Yeah, and you really saw that proven in round 2, when the only real reason UTK took that round home was when Specs managed to make a flank and he got 4 kills on a life. That opened up the entire game, and it's the thing he never was really able to repeat throughout the rest of that matchup. But in the end, it goes 3-0 over to E4 Knights, and I think that is a very solid GG both ways. Great rounds out of both sides, and God, this man Jumper is just cold as ice. He is built to be clutch with some of the plays he made today.
Yeah, for sure. Again, Jumper was probably the most highlighted and decorative player as far as stats are concerned that you can also look at on College COD's website to be able to learn more about these teams. Because, I mean, as far as Top Cut is concerned, with a very stacked coastal region, the Z4 Knights roster definitely has a brilliant run ahead of them when you do have a strong backing of Jumper. With the Crick 6, if you're able to slay like that while playing the main AR role, that definitely makes anybody's job easier, whether you're playing the OBJ, whether you're playing the routes, whether you're trying to play or block the spawns, or you're just Costa going AWOL over by the spawns on control. It just makes your life so much easier. And Jumper is such a good cornerstone for this team going in towards the Top Cut and hell, even playoffs. I cannot wait to see what this ranked 11 University of Central Florida E4 Knights has in front of them with playoffs just a few weeks away.
I'm right there with you, and I think the Coastal is full of some very good teams. It's going to be interesting to watch when this is all said and done, once playoffs kick off, which of these conferences really start to come out on top. But I want to thank everyone for tuning in thus far. That brings the end to the second matchup of the day, but don't go anywhere. We still have one more coming. Third and final matchup is going to be between Laurentian University and the University of Waterloo, sending it back over to the guys McCornmeal and Cruz and Spaz. For now, that is going to bring our week to an end proper. It's been wonderful casting with you as always. You got anything you want to say to the people before we send it home, or are you just ready to get it over back to that other great pair of casters?
I just can't wait to see what other teams are able to climb out ahead of Top Cut. I mean, you saw the quick work that even Concord Maroon were able to do with the first match of the day versus a Lebanon Valley College. That is very good, by the way, but that Concord Maroon, again, you're talking about two different epsilons. And the way that I think even Marco ended up tweeting about the other day too, one of our wonderful management members and ever so handsome members of Marco. Schmiegel was able to tweet out that there's certain tiers that you're looking at. It's like 1 to 5 and then so on and so forth. It's breaking it in like 5-point ratios. Who's going to be that team that's able to break inside the next top 5? Who's going to be able to be that team that upsets, say, a Concord Maroon or even an Ottawa, take a map off them? And who's going to be the next team that gets all the eyeball emojis going inside their next Twitter post? That's what I'm excited for.
Listen, it's March. The madness is here if you're a college basketball fan, so I would love to see the same thing break its way into college COD. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in thus far. Stick around, and we will try and give you a live look over at the Bravo channel while we are gone. My name's been Morgan Dunn. This has been Proper, and we'll see you guys again next week.